Let's just wait one more minute for folks to get on, and then we'll get started. All right, it's 12:31. I think we can get started. Good afternoon and welcome to the third VPRA and VRE Community Advisory Group meeting with a focus on Fairfax County. As a reminder, next slide, please. Today we will be covering the Franconia to Lorton Third Track project, the Franconia Springfield Bypass project, and the Franconia Springfield VRE station improvements. We'll also be talking about the construction disruptions that are causing impacts to the rail system as a result of the Long Bridge project construction. And we'll leave plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. Next slide, please. As a reminder, our community advisory groups are designed to maintain ongoing coordination and communication with leaders in our project areas. This includes residential groups, businesses, regional organizations, advocacy groups, elected officials, and staffers, and others. We meet virtually on a quarterly basis for project updates and to hear your thoughts. As I mentioned, we'll cover a variety of projects today from both VPRA and VRE. So let's go ahead and get started with our introductions. Let's start at the top, Sarah, and go across the top.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sarah Hoover. I am the project manager for Franconia to Lorton Third Track and also the project manager for Fairfax County sanitary sewer relocation that we'll be talking about today, and also with VPRA.
And I'm Meredith Judy. I'm the community affairs manager for Northern Virginia and DC with Virginia Passenger Rail Authority.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeff Pelletier, VPRA Senior Director for Engineering and Construction. I oversee our Northern Virginia portfolio.
Hello, I am Christine Fix, Director of Planning at VPRA.
Hello, I'm Jenna Friedberg. I'm the Community Affairs Manager who oversees projects, a part of our Western Rail expansion.
Hi, my name is Adil Maisurwala. I'm the project manager for the Franconia Springfield Bypass project for VPRA.
Good afternoon. I'm Jason Bortz with VRE. I'm the project manager for the Franconia Springfield Station Improvements project.
All right. Next slide. A brief overview of VPRA and VRE. These two agencies are leading the rail projects in Fairfax County that we'll be talking about today. Virginia Passenger Rail Authority is a state authority that was created by the Virginia General Assembly in 2020. We're responsible for expanding and promoting passenger rail and commuter rail. That's Amtrak and Virginia Railway Express service. We design, build, fund, maintain, and manage passenger rail service. However, we do not operate rail service. VRE and Amtrak operate the rail services on our tracks. Next slide. VPRA is leading significant rail construction projects across the Commonwealth. The focus of our work right now is on 11 major upgrades between Washington, D.C. and Richmond, Virginia. This will dramatically improve Amtrak and Virginia Railway Express service, meeting our goals of improved capacity, efficiency, and reliability. Next slide. And Virginia Railway Express is a long-standing commuter rail service in our region, offering service on two routes, one west from DC to the Manassas Broad Run area and one south to the Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania area. And VRE currently offers 16 daily trains on each line, but we will be seeing improvements and more frequency as the VPRA projects come online. So let's dive into our construction project updates. Sarah.
Thank you, Meredith. So with the Fairfax County projects, this map here is just an example of the different projects that we have currently going on in this area. There are three main ones. We have the Franconia to Lorton third track, which this adds that third mainline track along the corridor. It's one of the most traveled areas currently between Washington, D.C. and Richmond. And it's really key to helping to alleviate some of the buildup of trains we have and concerns we have with train traffic that we see today. We have the Franconia Springfield bypass, which is a rail bridge that will allow passenger trains to cross over the existing freight tracks and will also serve passenger platforms on both sides of the tracks. And then we also have the updates to the Franconia Springfield VRE station in conjunction with these projects, which will include both longer platforms and new pedestrian tunnel. Next slide. So looking at the Franconia to Lorton third track specifically, as you can see in this map, this shows the corridor where this takes place. It will add approximately 6 miles of third mainline track along this area to create a continuous third track between Alexandria and Lorton. It will also lead to the construction of railroad bridges or new railroad bridges over Newington Road and Lorton Road, and will also include the improvements of infrastructure to accommodate that third track as well. Next slide. So in line with that bridge construction I mentioned earlier, there are also 2 other locations that we will be seeing bridge improvements or main bridge improvements along the third track. As I mentioned earlier, there's Newington and Lorton, and then we have Acton Creek and Pohick Creek. Both Newington and Pohick will be receiving a new railroad bridge adjacent to the existing railroad bridge, and we'll also be removing and replacing the entire existing railroad bridge in those locations. At Accotink and Lorton, we will just be having the construction of a new railroad bridge adjacent to the existing one. Next slide. So currently, this is just a look at our schedule for the third track overall. You have that dark line, vertical line there in the middle that shows where we currently are within the project schedule overall. We've already completed our 100% design. We're currently working through the invitation for bid documentation in regards to that, with the intent to bid later on, or the intent to advertise the project later on this year. We're working through property acquisition. We're reviewing appraisals as we speak. And as I mentioned, our procurement process will hopefully begin later on this year, with construction ending in the first quarter of 2029. Next slide. So currently what we see for the Franconia Lorton third track is, while the complete corridor itself is not under construction, we do have an early works package that is currently underway. So there are field crews out and active, not within the corridor itself, but north of the corridor as part of that early works package. We also, as I mentioned earlier, have appraisals for right-of-way acquisition in progress. So this is just a quick breakdown of what's been completed, what's ongoing, and what's upcoming for the project overall. So the bid packages were under review, the plats were finalized, the early work package, civil work, which include drainage improvements and grading, was completed. Ongoing, as I mentioned, the appraisals, and also the construction of a new interlocking, which is a location with updates to signals and to the installation of turnouts and crossovers, or areas where these main lines can connect. This is key to being able to run trains within a block between signals and such. The new one that is currently being constructed is going to be called Control Point Beltway. It's, as I mentioned, at the northern project limits, and will begin, or has begun, I should say, their construction in February 2026. In regards to upcoming work, we do have the right-of-way acquisition that will happen later on this year. The early work signal cutover. So as I mentioned earlier, we have signal work going on this location that cutover for the new signal will begin in May 2026. We are currently hoping to start vegetation removal for all the utility relocation this spring as well. And then the Fairfax County sewer line relocation will occur in the summer of 2026. The image you see here in this particular slide is currently what's happening at that CP Beltway. So this is by Fleet Drive. You can see that one of the turnouts is already in the track. And this is just part of the construction that's going on. Next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have, as part of our portfolio, the sanitary sewer relocation that we are doing on behalf of Fairfax County. There are 4 locations where the county is going to require a relocation effort on behalf of the third track, and they're listed here. We have Berry Road, Newington Road, Cinderbed Road, and Lorton VRE Station. As part of that effort, you all will begin to see vegetation removal, or I should say tree felling, occurring on all these locations here within the next month or so. And to speak to the sewer relocations themselves, we have at Berry Road, not just sewer, but also Fairfax water relocation that's going on. Those are located on WMATA properties. And for Newington Road, those are on private properties, but they're not residential. At Cinderbed Road, similar, they're private properties, but not residential. And then at the Lorton VRE Station, the sewer effort that is occurring there is on the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors property. When we say on the slide, it says no residential properties impacted, what I want to make clear is that's in regards to the construction. So while you all may be seeing from a residential standpoint, trucks coming through for work and access and things like that, the physical construction of these relocations are not going to be occurring on the private properties. All of the properties that have been affected have already been approached in regards to acquisition and such. So if you haven't heard from us, you're not being affected by this project from the purposes of right-of-way acquisition. Next slide. So in regards to the third track, so swapping back to the other project related to rail, we're currently looking at access points that we have under consideration. What I would like to point out is all these locations are not the only locations. These are just general locations that we're currently looking at along the corridor in order to access our project. So currently we're looking at Gunston Cove Road area, Lorton Market Street area, Lorton Road, Lorton Station Boulevard, Pohick Road, Cinderbed Road, Terminal Road, and Newington Road and Berry Road. So as I mentioned, these are not the total list. These are just particular areas that we're looking at as part of that access. So what that of course means is once the track or construction begins, you may begin to see some truck traffic or construction traffic related to that. I will say they won't be all happening at once. This is a phased project. So not all of these locations will be accessed simultaneously. It'll be dependent on the phase of the project we're in. Next slide. So in regards to the third track early works package, as I mentioned earlier, we are actively working to remove what is previously known as the control point Ravensworth or the Ravensworth interlocking. This is nearby Jerome Street and the Darby Lane area. It's this location marked in red here on the map on the right. Once that's been retired, it will then be replaced by what we are currently installing and naming the CP or control point Beltway, which is near Fleet Drive, north of Franconia Road, and is this location in green on the map. So as I mentioned earlier, in regards to what is an interlocking, it's a rail junction where these tracks or these main lines merge and they split to allow trains to move from one main line to another. So we're installing these turnouts or crossovers, which we've spoken about previously in other CAG meetings, to allow for interoperability between the main lines. This is a specific location where that is meant to occur. In regards to why this is important, this is key for safety improvements, for operational efficiency. As part of the third track and the bypass, the Ravensworth interlocking was no longer going to be useful, or I shouldn't say useful, but would no longer be a possible location for an interlocking. But of course, an interlocking was necessary for this area. So it needed to be moved north, which is where you have the new CP Beltway. And to that point, it was a part of the shoe fly construction that will be needed for third track as well. So in regards to when this is happening, the track work is currently underway. And we hopefully will be seeing it completed at the end of March. Next slide. So these are just some images of what you'd be seeing out there back behind Fleet Drive. So on the left here, we have a construction crew installing the new crossover at the Beltway location. So we have the tamper that's doing the ballast work and working on that rock and smoothing out the grade and such along that area. And then to the right, we have closest to us, sort of closest to the bottom of the image, the new turnout on track 1 or main 1 that's been installed. It's harder to see, but on that far side, where you can see the concrete pad there, the little square in the distance, that is where a new crossover has also been installed between main lines 2 and 3. Next slide. I'll hand this over to Adil.
Thanks, Sarah. So the Franconia Springfield Bypass Project constructs a bypass rail bridge, which is pretty much a rail flyover, or, going over the existing CSX tracks. And that's what we're building right now. We're out there constructing. And the whole goal is to reduce bottleneck and delay. So we're not waiting to switch tracks like Sarah was mentioning. We're just going to go over the CSX tracks here. As part of this project, we're also constructing a temporary shoe fly, which we kind of talked about at our last CAG meeting, what a shoe fly was, but just a quick reminder is basically a small detour on the site so that, we're creating more space for crews and equipment to do the work on site. So next slide. Just a couple of renderings that show the flyover bridge. As you can see, we're going to be, which shows a VRE train going over a CSX train. Basically, that's VPRA's track going over CSX's track right there. Next slide. Schedule-wise, as you can see, the black bar is where we're at right now. We're pretty much complete with property acquisition. We have all our properties. And then we're also complete with 100% design. And we're pretty much into construction right now. So procurement's complete and construction's ongoing on site right now. Next slide, I'll talk about more, what actually is going on. So the key bullets are, we received our construction general permit for our entire site. Basically, once we got our final plans complete, we got a construction general permit. And a CJP basically allows us to manage stormwater. We need to install erosion, sedimentation control, et cetera, to manage stormwater release on the site. And I'll show you some pictures of that later on. And like I mentioned, construction is underway. If you live nearby, you've seen it happening. So recently completed, we've completed the 2 temporary railroad crossings that allow us to cross from east to west. We did some additional borings on site to finalize, our design walls, during construction. Permitting, like I mentioned, is complete, and then property acquisition is complete as well. What we have ongoing right now, we have temporary drainage being installed, grading, for site access. So with these new properties, we have some additional site access locations, and then I'll have a slide that touches on that later as well. Equipment delivery and staging is happening right now, and installation of erosion sediment control, and then retaining wall construction, primarily excavation going on right now. And we're also working at night as needed. And night work is more because, that's when the trains are, that's where we have more opportunity to get more work done because there's less train traffic. What's coming up next? Utility relocations is going to start very soon. Shoe fly track construction is going to be coming up soon. We have some culverts that we're installing, and we're going to continue the retaining wall. You actually see walls getting built out there in the next couple of weeks. Next slide, please. So just some pictures of what's going on. So on the left, you can see the retaining wall 4A excavation and grading going on. So we have an excavator out there, basically getting the hill ready for our wall. Temporary drainage installed just to make sure, drainage is operating while we're doing construction and moving dirt around. Next slide. And like I mentioned, erosion and sediment control, it's part of our, CJP permit or construction general permit, basically installing silt fences and other controls like construction entrances, inlet protection, sediment traps, just to make sure, stormwater, when it rains, all the snow melt that we're managing, all that water and silt that it's generated. And the goal is to, prevent soil loss, right? And pollution entering, waterways. On retaining wall 4A, on the previous slide, you saw the excavator working. We also had some boring rig out there, doing borings. Retaining wall 4A is directly behind the Darby Lane residences. So you've seen our equipment working out there, and they will continue to do that. It's going to start, well, say it's late February. We're already in late February. It's going to continue all the way to spring is what our expectation is, the next couple of months for now. Next slide, please. So I mentioned, construction access points. So we have some additional properties that we just received. So our crews are out there building access from those locations. So these blue cyan arrows kind of show you those locations. So we're not going to be just coming down Berry Road. We'll have other points of access and be using those very soon. That just gives us several, access points, several locations where, equipment can enter and exit for its construction. Next slide. Obviously, like I said, construction is ongoing, so there will be some disruption due to construction. Primarily right now, it's trucks entering the site, bringing material, taking the excavated material off site. You'll hear noise, from, near the tracks, work occurring at night. Excavators and bulldozers are working out there, not a lot of jackhammering and drills. We've tried to limit that. So there's not a lot of that, but there will be occasional, some, jackhammers and drills working out there. And like I said, primarily trucks and dump trucks right now. And that'll be most of the, in and out is going to be trucks and dump trucks on site. I think that's my last slide, I believe.
All right, on to me. Thanks, Adil. So update on the Franconia Springfield VRE Station Improvements Project. So we are effectively complete with design. We circulated a 100% design package at the end of the calendar year, and we received comments back on that from various stakeholders with VPRA and CSX and others. We're working through the comment resolution phase of that. Looking to get the plans finalized. We already have our construction manager on board and ready to oversee construction. We are working through the permitting process with Fairfax County. Those permits are submitted and under review, and coordinating with VPRA and with WMATA and other parties to make sure that we have all of the necessary property interests in order that we can perform the necessary work. The vast majority of our work is within the railroad right-of-way, just a small section where our access point comes back out to Berry Road at the cul-de-sac that we'll need to just make some modifications to our footprint there, but not on any residential properties, only impacting publicly owned properties there. Upcoming, we'll look to have our plan set completed and ready for an invitation for bid in probably mid 2016 or 2026. 2016, I guess that would be nice. In 2026 here in the middle of the year, looking to start construction at the beginning of early 2027. Next slide, please. So just kind of a reminder of what the project includes. Right now we have 2 platforms out there. One platform is very short, can only open about 2 doors. Our typical train sets are 6 or 8 cars. So we'll be looking to lengthen the platforms to ensure that we can open all 8 cars. That allows us to get everybody on and off the trains more quickly and get back to heading on to the next station. While we perform that construction, we will be maintaining connectivity over to the WMATA station. I know that the adjacent neighborhood has a lot of folks that pass through on the stairs and the bridge that are shown in this photo. We will be maintaining that throughout construction. While we are doing these extensions and adding more platforms and adding a new tunnel to the south, we will be rehabbing everything that's there. So all of the existing steel will get cleaned and repainted, and we'll update all the glass panels and all that. Next slide, please. This is just looking at it from an overview. The yellow is the existing platform. The pink or purple is the extensions of those platforms, making sure that we've got enough space to open all 8 doors. And the green towards the bottom, that is a new pedestrian underpass. So with the new 3rd track coming in, which is shown in blue going from left to right, that will provide us the ability to pass underneath that track and walk up to the end of the platform in the pink or purple there. At the bottom of the screen, what you could see is kind of how that tunnel transitions from being very low on the bottom left image, where it's significantly below the ground line, to transitions into more of a U-shaped box with a roof on it, so that as we get up closer to track level. Next slide, please. And this is just another visualization of exactly that, how the tunnel starts well below grade, starts underneath the track, and then progresses up towards the platform. I think that's it for me.
All right. Let's talk about the Long Bridge project and some service going on. We've got construction has started on the Long Bridge project, which of course is just north of here, and we're excited about getting underway. And with that construction, Amtrak and VRE has made temporary service adjustments. So we're evaluating those schedules as project progresses on the Long Bridge. And our work windows and service adjustments began back in January 12th, and we're going to continue those until the project's completion in 2030. And they may change, they may stay the same, but that's something we are monitoring throughout the project life cycle and the construction process for Long Bridge. Next slide. What do those service impacts look like? Well, what we did is our objective was to develop a service plan for Amtrak and VRE trains for up to 5 years, beginning in January, to maintain maximum service and performance for Amtrak, VRE, and CSX trains. We needed to maximize work window productivity, meaning we needed to give our contractors the most time on the track and the rail as possible while being safe and making sure those employees are safe. What are our constraints? We've got some big noise constraints. In DC, noise and vibration laws are pretty restrictive and restrict significant work to daytime hours, Monday and Saturday for Long Bridge North. And this picture is that section of track that we're talking about. Because of the tight corridor in this area, we cannot have trains going by while construction workers are working actively on the track. So how did we plan for this? We looked at all of the peak ridership times, specifically VRE AM peak and AM and PM peak, and those were the highest ridership times. We worked with Amtrak Northeast Corridor at Union Station, which also requires some service considerations we had to think about. And then we noticed Union Station in DC is the most congested in the afternoon. So afternoon timeframe to do construction was limiting that timeframe for construction activities. We also had to take into account things that are outside of our area. We had to understand what was affecting Amtrak Virginia, Amtrak long distance, projects going or trains running south, trains running north, as well as VRE. So what we found was that there's a sweet spot of a work window to do construction between about 8:30 and 1 p.m. And that's what we're aiming for. And we reached out to the community a lot, which will be next slide. We did canvassing. We went out to all of the VRE train stations. We went to Amtrak's train stations to get the word out and to tell people about the updated schedules. We also have on our website, which was in the link on the previous slide, and it's on our website, about all of the service disruptions that are ongoing. And if there are any changes, that's how we are going to notify people. We're also going to continue to monitor, update, and notify folks on a rolling basis. So We'll keep y'all up to date. And if there are any questions, we'll take them at the end, but we hope to see service resume to normal once Long Bridge construction is complete. Next slide.
Thank you, Christine. So Christine went over a little bit of the community outreach we've done with canvassing regarding the Long Bridge service impacts, but we've done some other outreach in the previous year. We've sent out direct mail, we've done door-to-door flyers, we've hosted a right-of-way acquisition public meeting, we've tabled, excuse me, out in the community, and we've also been interacting pretty regularly with local supervisors and other stakeholders in the area. Upcoming, we will continue to do door-to-door outreach as necessary. We are planning for some spring on-site outreach out in the neighborhood, similar to the ones that we had done in the past. There will be a newsletter coming out shortly after this meeting with similar construction updates and a few other links if anybody is curious about anything that we've spoken about today. And we have requested a speed trailer for Berry Road. It is on a list right now. So we have been in contact with Supervisor Lusk's office and the police department. We'll keep everybody updated on when that speed trailer actually goes live. And then we'll continue with our quarterly community advisory group meetings, as well as our ongoing coordination with other stakeholder agencies in the area. Next slide. Of course, to stay informed, please continue to follow our project website. If you aren't following us on any of our socials, absolutely sign up. We do post quite often on LinkedIn, on Instagram. If you're not signed up for the newsletter for the construction updates, please let me know. You should all have my contact information from when you signed up. And if you have any additional questions after this meeting, feel free to follow up with me directly. We will be sending out a recording of this meeting and any other links to anything else that we have presented today. But I think that's it for me. I can pass it on.
Yeah, thank you to all of our speakers. Now we would like to open this up for a question and answer period. Linda is going to manage that for us.
Hello, everybody. If you hover over at the bottom of your screen, you will see where you can raise your hand or see the whole list of participants. So we already have comments and questions, which I will start from the top here, and we can start taking these questions. So from Mark Shuffler, we have a question. Will new bridges be one track or two tracks?
The substructure for the new bridges will be designed for two tracks, but we will only be constructing the one track.
Okay. Mark has also asked how many people are anticipated to use the new tunnel. It's 100 is question mark.
Yeah, I can get the numbers on our overall ridership at that as far as how many people get on and get off that station, but it would be 100% of the ridership at that station, and then also it's any of the folks who are typically passing through to get over to the WMATA station.
Okay. So we have a question from Dominic Bonauto. For the station improvements, are you all coordinating or monitoring VDOT's Frontier Drive extension, which, as I recall, will improve the pedestrian path from the Franconia Springfield Parkway area down to the station? And then there's a second part of his question.
Yeah, so that project, to the best of my knowledge, is all on the WMATA side. So really between not on the actual freight rail corridor, which is where our work would be. I believe that is all limited within the confines of the WMATA station. I don't think it actually even gets over the WMATA tracks. It's all within their the service bus loop entryway that they have on that side of the WMATA station. So we are separate from that, and I don't think there's any direct interaction. But I can double check and make sure I'm not missing something about the footprint of that project.
Okay, and as a second part of Dominic's question, also on the project access of Springfield Center Drive, have you notified the NVCC Medical Education Campus and businesses in that corridor about the possible construction traffic?
Yeah, similar to the Frontier Drive. Springfield Center Drive is on more on the WMATA side. We wouldn't be able to access construction from there because we would have to climb over WMATA's corridor to get over to where we are. So we'll be accessing predominantly from the Berry Road cul-de-sac, unless there is Sarah, unless you have any access for third track over there.
Yeah, I think this might be a third track related question. We have not, or I guess Meredith, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. Besides just general tabling, we have not reached out directly to these areas, but we will be as we get closer to construction.
Actually, Sarah, for bypass, that's the access for bypass. So it's not ready yet because there's a Dominion pole that Dominion has to raise for us to get access to that site. But we will make sure we reach out.
That's a good option too.
On here too as well that we did have some early discussions with NVCC because they are aware that we've been on their property for studies and things like that, so they have some awareness, and we have been in touch with VDOT. We have a regular checkpoint with VDOT. We're aware of Frontier Drive extension. I know that project has not advanced at the smart scale level yet, but it is on everybody's radar that it could affect what we're doing in the area.
Excellent. I just want to make sure belt suspenders on coordination. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. And a question from Mr. Webster: how will invitation for bid be sent out?
I can answer for Franconia Lorton third track. CSX will be managing that procurement. They put their invitation for bid in a couple different ways. One is through public notice in a newspaper. I believe the last time they did it was through the Fairfax County Times, I believe, which gives the information in which they, you can reach out to them for IFB. I believe they also post through the Dodge Construction Network. So if you're a contractor that's registered in Dodge or want to, that I believe they also post there as well. We will also post on the VPRA website when those procurements go live, just to also boost the signal and let people know where they can contact CSX. But I guess Jason, I'll pass to you if you want to talk about the
Sure. For VREs, we post them on our website VRE.org, as well as through EVA website, which handles all of our official process. It's how our postings are distributed, and also how they are received back. We receive our bids through that website as well. And then typically when we post something, VPRA also kind of, to Jeff's point, amplifies it within their procurement website. That they notice that it's a distinct one, right? It's not under their purview, but it's related to the larger program that VPRA is overseeing.
Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat unless I'm missing something. Did anyone want to just ask a question? Raise your hand or go ahead and shout it out. I don't hear anything. Is there a last call?
I don't have anything. Thank you so much for the information.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, then we'll go ahead and thank everyone for being here today. You saw our contact, and we will, as Jenna mentioned, we'll be sending out this PowerPoint or a link to this PowerPoint, posting it on our website. It includes all the contact information if you have questions between now and our next Community Advisory Group meeting. We hold these quarterly, so we'll be back in touch in about 3 months with a new date. And again, please reach out anytime, and we appreciate you staying engaged and involved and keeping us informed about how the community's feeling and how we can best be neighbors as we're doing this construction. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.